I'm bricked the fuck up right now. UFC 308 is this weekend. Obviously, the main event is Topuria versus Holloway. Massive fight. But top to bottom, this might be the best card of the year. We've got your full card breakdowns coming right up. Don't go anywhere. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm your boy DS. I'm here with Dino Bam Bam.
DS, what up, baby? I see you're rocking the little headscarf or whatever they call it.
You already know, baby, we are in Abu. So I am just culturally appropriating. Figure that's the right thing to do here. Yeah. Obviously, we are here to break down UFC 308. What a massive card this is. You could argue it's bigger than UFC 300, in my opinion. I mean, you could argue it. It's a huge card. Obviously, it's one of the themed cards. And, you know, we know the people down there were not super happy with some of the cards that Dana's tried to put on over there. So this is kind of their apology / making things right, it feels like, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card from top to bottom. I mean, you could argue it's better than 300. You'd be wrong as fuck, but you could argue really almost anything.
So. That's true. That's true. Obviously, the main event is Topuria versus Holloway. Huge fight. You know, but top to bottom, like you said, man, it's absolutely stacked. But before we dive into all this and our quick breakdowns and quick picks, whatever the hell you want to call it, why don't you tell the people all the things that you have to tell them?
Yeah, you guys should definitely like and hit that subscribe button. That would mean the world to us. And then speaking of arguing, DS, I didn't think it was a thing that we could argue about. I thought everybody in the world, in this MMA community, wanted Max Holloway to win. We posted a reel on Instagram. Got like 100,000 views in 24 hours. A lot of people arguing with us. Apparently, they want Ilia to win because they fucking hate us. So if you want to argue and see that video, follow us at the 10-7 MMA. We got fucking raunchy ass content. We got memes. We got pictures with fighters, and we argue a ton on there. So yeah, follow us on Instagram. Hit the fucking subscribe button. DS, let's get into these picks, bro.
Let's do it. Let's do it, my friend. And we start with a pretty interesting fight right off the bat. We've got Brunno Silva as the underdog. He is taking on former UFC fighter, and now I think this is his first fight back in the UFC. Obviously, given the region that we're in, it makes sense. But it's Ismail Naurdiev. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, Brunno Silva. You know, not too long ago, Brunno Silva was like I wouldn't say he was the top of the food chain guy, but he was pretty fucking relevant in the UFC. He's been on a 3-fight losing streak. Last time out, he lost via TKO to eye pokes to Chris Weidman. So he's been really fucking upset about that. But anyways, Brunno Silva, as we know, dangerous striker, real knockout power. He stood on the feet for 3 rounds with Poatan. That should tell you all you need to know about Brunno Silva. Also, back in the day, had some good jiu-jitsu. We never get to see that anymore. He's taking on the newcomer for the second time, Ismail Naurdiev. Dino, this guy was cut from the UFC. He went 3-2, and they're like, fuck, we need this guy back. That's what we need in our lives, some 3-2 action. But I guess he fits the mold, right? He fits what they need in this region of the world. They're going to Abu Dhabi a lot. They're going to Saudi Arabia now. They're starting to. So I get it. He's a dynamic fighter. He's a striker. You wouldn't think that looking at his name, but that's what he's really about. But of course, the name ending in the V means that he will grapple with you. Look, I'm not super sold on Ismail Naurdiev. But the problem is I'm not sold on Brunno Silva anymore. I think he's got 1 foot out the door. So I will go with the newcomer, Ismail Naurdiev, pulling off the UD in Abu.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you, man. I expect Brunno Silva to be the better striker in this fight. You know, Naurdiev is okay. He's kind of explosive on the feet. Ultimately, I think he gets it to the ground and, you know, uses his wrestling and just, you know, kind of in a boring fashion that we see, you know, some of the fighters in this region have. You land some shots from top, you know, use some explosive strikes, explosive 1-2s to kind of try to conceal the takedown, eventually start shooting some takedowns, end up being able to get Brunno Silva down. I'm not particularly high on either guy. Brunno Silva's fall off is kind of crazy, to be quite honest with you. Like you said, man, he put up a great fight versus Ferreira, and he's had some nice fights and some nice performances, but you know, and then Naurdiev, you know, he fought most recently at Brave CF, and he is 3-3 in his last 6 at Brave. So not particularly inspiring, quite frankly. He's kind of a finish or be finished kind of guy. Nothing would really surprise me in this fight, but I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say Naurdiev as the younger fighter. And, listen, this is going to be a theme here. If it goes to decision, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, right? The judges in this part of the world, they tend to skew a little biased, which kind of is the case everywhere. But I think these guys are the most egregious, unfortunately. So I am going to go with Naurdiev by decision as well.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's a pretty good bet. Like I don't really see Brunno Silva like going back to being the guy he was. So I don't think I'm gonna bet this fight, but I do like Naurdiev by decision.
I'm not betting it, man, but I could see Brunno Silva getting a knockout. It's just we haven't really seen it much lately. And now he's 36. It might be over for him. So, all right, moving on. Next fight, we've got Ibo Aslan. He is taking on Rafael Cerqueira, the Brazilian. These guys have one loss between them. These are two big ass dudes. Rafael Cerqueira, he mostly has fought at heavyweight, to my knowledge. He's pretty much he has exclusively fought on the Brazilian regional circuit, and he's knocking and finishing everybody. Triangle chokes. He really likes the arm triangle, but great body kicks, great striking in general. Really mixes it up. He's a big ass, flashy, dynamic, striking Brazilian, big as hell. Ibo Aslan, speaking of big as hell, the dude is, he must have been roided at some point. He may not be actively roiding at this point, but the dude is absolutely yoked. These guys are kind of similar in my opinion, right? These guys both come in fairly untested when it comes to the level of competition. I guess Ibo Aslan has maybe fought a little bit better competition, but if you look at the records, man, 18-21, 5-9, right? He lost to Anton Turkalj in Brave CF. He got choked out, rear naked choke. And then, of course, in his last fight, he knocked out Anton Turkalj badly. And that's my boy, unfortunately. I don't know why I like that guy. I think I just like him being called the pleasure man. But both of these guys, not like the most technically sound. Ibo Aslan does tend to overswing a lot, but they've got big power. Both these guys do, man. It's a tough one. And anybody that is super confident one way or another, in my opinion, they're bullshitting you, because how can you possibly be that confident? These are two big-ass guys who this fight's going to mostly take place on the feet. They're both going to be swinging, and I do expect a pretty quick finish here. For some reason, though, man, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Rafael Cerqueira, and I could see him either getting a big knockout in the first round, or I could even see him dropping Ibo Aslan and then maybe locking in one of those arm triangle chokes. I don't know about betting this one, man, but the plus money on Cerqueira is kind of swaying me. We'll see. There's not a ton out there. This is a big test for both guys, right? They've kind of fought cans, both of them, and now they're converging into the battle of the can destroyers, right? So, we'll see what happens. I do think it's going to be a finish either way.
Yeah, DS, I'm going to keep this pretty quick here. You said pretty much what I wanted to say. The only thing I'll add is Ibo Aslan, I don't love his cardio, man. Not that Rafael is going to have like phenomenal cardio.
He's jacked as fuck, man. We always talk about that. Like, muscle takes ATP. It takes there's glycogen involved, right? Like, fat doesn't have glycogen. Muscles have glycogen. If you're fucking super jacked and you're swinging constantly and all full force, eventually your body is just physically going to be too pumped. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So, yeah, I don't trust in his cardio very much. I do agree that this is probably a finish, but I will also go with Rafael. I think I think they're both going to try to play like a little bit safe early on in the first and then really start kind of letting shit go as the fight goes on. I think once we get to that second round, I could see exactly what you were saying. Rafael drops Aslan with something and then gets a submission. I won't say arm triangle. I'll go RNC. It just seems safer. Like, how are you going to arm triangle somebody with some thick-ass arms like that? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen much of the cardio of either of these guys, but you're right. Ibo Aslan, I just don't think he's all that good, man. I do think he has massive power, and he can knock out anybody in the division.
That's what it is.
He's also pretty one-dimensional, mostly a boxer, right? So, all right, moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Rinat Fakhretdinov. He is taking on Carlos Leal. Dino, you expertly predicted that the fight that it was supposed to be Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Nursultan Ruziboyev. You expertly called it that fight would be canceled. I don't remember if you said it on the show or not, but I know for a fact that you told me this, some 2-3 weeks ago, probably. So well done. But what do you think about the new fight, him versus Carlos Leal?
Yeah, that was very predictable, DS. Every time we have an Abu Dhabi card, we have a fight like that. That looks amazing. Two guys, that are fan favorites in the region. And then it always ends up, breaking up. And it's not to say like, man, there's a lot to be said about that. Is it the fact that these guys pull out a ton? Or is it the fact that they don't want them fighting each other on a card over there? But whatever. Rinat Fakhretdinov, you guys know who he is. He is a super powerful wrestler. Relentless fucking pressure, great grappling dominance. He is really good at getting his opponents down to the ground and fucking keeping them there. Like he knows how to neutralize people striking, Dino, and that is a big, big thing for a guy who is a grappler in MMA, right? Like a lot of these heavy grapplers don't have that. He has the ability to stop you from striking, like very good striking defense. But anyways, great job with distance control as well. He hops in and out very well. So I'm very impressed with Rinat Fakhretdinov. He's taking on Carlos Leal, formerly of the PFL. It looks like he was signed by UAE Warriors and never fought there. And then the UFC called him in, I guess, on short notice. I think because he was there getting ready for a fight. But Carlos Leal, a well-rounded veteran, solid striking, solid grappling. He's got good fight IQ. He's just like a well-rounded, big vet. But, Dino, I don't think that's going to fucking matter, man. I mean, to me, this is just levels, right? I don't know what the odds are. I'm sure they're out by now. We have no odds on the screen. I bet Rinat Fakhretdinov is a massive favorite.
Yeah, I'm thinking minus 400-500 at least.
Yeah, so I'm trusting Rinat Fakhretdinov. Carlos Leal is definitely tough as shit. If you've seen any of his PFL fights, you know that. So I don't necessarily see a finish. I wouldn't doubt a finish, but I'll go Rinat Fakhretdinov just using that grappling and just getting a dominant 30-27.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you, man. The other thing, too, that I don't think you mentioned is Leal is stepping in on pretty short notice here, right? I think it's only, a week, 10 days notice, something like that. Yeah. So, and also this guy's fucking juiced to the gills. We were talking about juice to the gills earlier. This guy's absolutely juiced to the fucking teeth. So you can't tell me that he's not. So, but anyway, yeah. He's going to get outclassed, bro. The wrestling is going to be the difference here. It's pretty straightforward, right? I'm sorry. I was looking for the odds to see if they are out.
So, Dino, really quickly, Carlos Leal was supposed to fight last week. Or actually, he was supposed to fight tonight. There was a card, a UAE Warriors card tonight that he was supposed to fight on. He got pulled off of that and called to the Big Show. Shout out the Big Show, Paul White.
I'm seeing not that big of a favorite, man. Shockingly, minus like 250, 260, plus 200-ish. Yeah, for Leal, which is very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I agree with you, man. Fakhretdinov decision here all the way. I think that's actually a pretty good value pick, personally. Not discounting Carlos Leal in any way. I just think Fakhretdinov is very tough to game plan for on a full camp. All his strikes are meaningful, right? He doesn't really mix it up too much to the body. He's not anything crazy on the feet, but he is good enough on the feet to be able to set up his takedowns and set up that wrestling. So I agree with you. I'm going to take him by decision here. I think there's value. There.
If you can get Fakhretdinov at like minus 2 something, fucking slam that.
Yep.
Slam that. So I'm with
Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. No question. All right, next fight. We've got Farid Basharat. He is taking on Victor Hugo. I mean, the odds kind of speak for themselves here. I don't know if they should be quite that high, but Farid Basharat, just like his brother, we kind of know the style, right? He is really good at getting people to the ground. He's great at holding people there. He throws some flashy things every now and then on the feet, right? So, it's not like he's totally one-dimensional. I just, to me, it's kind of like this last fight, right? I don't think this is that different of a matchup in terms of why the victor, who I'm picking to be Farid Basharat, is going to be the victor.
Victor is not going to be the victor.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Now, some people might say, he kind of had a close fight with Taylor Lapilus. Taylor Lapilus is pretty good, man. Taylor Lapilus is pretty good, and he's given a lot of people problems. I don't discount that too much. I wasn't super impressed with Victor Hugo's last performance personally. So this one is, again, pretty straightforward for me. I just think that Farid Basharat's the kind of fighter, and so's was it Javid Basharat as well, where you cannot let them get into their game plan, right? You cannot let them execute their game plan, or else it's going to be a tough win, right? You have to kind of throw them off, make them fight off the back foot, and make them think about a little bit, other things other than just some simple strikes and things like that. Not saying that that's what Victor Hugo is. I just think that the wrestling is going to be too much again, and I see a decision win for Farid Basharat here. Minus 500 may be a little crazy though.
Yeah, DS. I'm also going to Farid Basharat. A couple things I want to add into that. When it comes to Javid and Farid Basharat, I think I've always thought Javid Basharat, the better prospect, the more well-rounded prospect, and he's actually the one that lost his O before Farid Basharat did. Look, Farid Basharat is definitely more of a heavy grappler than his brother, whereas Javid Basharat is the more like striky of the two, but they are similar, of course, right? Victor Hugo, we mention this every time he fights. Victor striker, Hugo, even though he's really like a jiu-jitsu guy, I mean, he is pretty well-rounded, but I feel like he's the worst wrestler and the worst, I don't know if he's the worst striker, but he's like, there are areas where Farid Basharat is better than him in the striking.
At distance, I think Farid Basharat is better. That's
what I'm saying. I think Victor Hugo definitely has the power advantage. But yeah, I just think the grappling of Farid Basharat, he has no issue making this a boring ass fight. So I also do see a decision for Farid Basharat. One more thing we got to add about Victor Hugo. We talk about this all the fucking time as well. His Tapology photo, Dino, is my favorite Tapology photo in the entirety of the UFC, where he's just like posing. He's like fucking throwing up an emote as some dude is just like dying in the background. He just violently murdered some man. So yeah, I love that photo. But yeah, Farid Basharat minus 500.
I just want to say too, Farid Basharat is a very safe fighter, right? He doesn't oftentimes let himself get into positions where,
and that's the boring, right? That's like the boring aspect of it. You know what I mean?
That's definitely a big part of it. For me, Victor Hugo's best chance might be to try to lock up a submission, but again, Farid Basharat, really good scrambles. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next fight, and this is an interesting one to say the least, for a few reasons. But we've got your boy Kennedy Nzechukwu. He is taking on Chris Barnett, everyone's boy, pretty much. Right. How can you not love this guy? But what do you think about this interesting ass fight, which is, by the way, at heavyweight? I mean, Chris Barnett kind of gave that away, right. But Kennedy Nzechukwu making his heavyweight debut in the UFC.
Hey, Chris Barnett would be a fucking problem at 205. Is all I'm saying. If he could slim down,
he took his nutrition seriously. Yeah,
slim down a couple 300 pounds.
His last weigh-in was 267 and a half.
Stud for missing weight at like 5'7". But
yeah,
look, yes, this was supposed to be Justin Tafa versus Kennedy Nzechukwu, which would have been very fucking interesting considering Kennedy is moving up to heavyweight. And if you guys know anything about Kennedy, what's his whole thing? His whole question mark, the question mark about Kennedy is that weird ass chin. Like, we don't know what it can handle. Sometimes you see him take a bomb and he's fine. And then sometimes you see somebody fucking breathe on him and he's asleep on the canvas. So seeing him face a one-dimensional guy like Tafa would have been
He's got the Johnny Walker syndrome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's essentially Johnny Walker light, right? But anyways, Kennedy Nzechukwu, a slow starter, notoriously slow starter, tall as hell and rangy for 205. He's still going to be tall as hell and rangy at heavyweight. He's obviously a striker, and like I said, he likes to ease his way into fights. He's taking on Huggy Bear. Chris Barnett, short, stout, fun as fuck. When he wins, he does flips and sits down like a fucking teddy bear. Chris Barnett is like, if you guys have never seen Chris Barnett, it's the funnest shit you'll ever see. He is exactly what you think he is when we say he's 5'8", 300 fucking pounds. Dino, he's so dynamic, man. He throws spinning fucking wheel kicks. He's trying to kick your head off, being sure it's
bro is
fucking
made
adorable.
of Play-Doh. He's made of Play-Doh. He's like made of Play-Doh, bro. Like
I swear to God, he's got real knockout.
How do you move like that, bro? How you spin? How you got the hip dexterity to do like splits and shit? You're fucking so fat, dude. Like
yeah, he's got like real power, obviously, as we know, but like his cardio is really fucking good for a guy that looks like that. His ability to take damage is really impressive for a guy that looks like that. His ground game isn't his strength, but we've seen him do some jujitsu grappling and shit. Like, he is truly a lifelong martial artist. He grew up doing taekwondo.
He's 23-8.
But yeah, but he fucking looks like that. Look, Dino, I think everybody's going to be rooting for Chris Barnett. I think the reality of the situation is Kennedy is going to be too long for him. He's going to be patient, stay away from the dangerous shit, pick at him from range, eventually find himself a finish in the second round. So I'm going to go Kennedy and Nzechukwu TKO round 2. But I will say this. I'm not going any fucking where near betting Kennedy and Nzechukwu. If I'm going to bet this fight, if I'm feeling a little drunk, it's actually going to be like at fucking noon. So I'm not going to be drunk at all, so I won't be betting it. But Chris Barnett is worth a sprinkle if you're feeling like a degenerate, is all I'm fucking saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Chris Barnett is a novelty fighter, right? You know, he is. I love him. Everybody's going to be rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. Not a big Kennedy guy. The chin is kind of embarrassing, honestly. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets spinning fucking wheel kick knocked out, personally. But at the end of the day, he is the much better technical striker. He doesn't throw all the spinning shit and all that, right? But like he's got 8 inches of reach, 8 inches of height. This should be a straightforward gimme kind of win, honestly, for Kennedy here. I'm not betting it because you said, like the chin, it's just god awful, and I don't trust it. And I want Chris Barnett to win, but there's really not much else to say here. Kennedy really should win this one.
What are you going, Kennedy, by what? Decision or?
I'm gonna go decision, dude, because Chris Barnett, he doesn't get knocked out too much. So
I feel that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go decision.
All right.
All right. Next fight on the docket, we have got Abus.
And where's he fighting, Dino? Where's he fighting?
In Abu.
Bang.
Abus is fighting in Abu. You better believe it. And he is taking on Brunno Ferreira. Man, this is a very interesting fight, to be honest with you. By the way, did you know Abu's full name is Abu Zupian?
Yes, I did.
Okay, nice. Yeah, look, man. Abus, I always have like a weird taste in my mouth when I think of this guy, right? Because like the UFC, he's one of those guys that the UFC really tried to shove down our throats. 2 very sus things I just said in a row. But yeah, UFC tried to really push him, and he kind of faltered. And the cardio is absolutely ass. Brunno Ferreira cardio is also pretty ass here, right? Ferreira is gonna have more power, but Abus is gonna be the better technical fighter here. So, do you expect that Brunno can get a finish on Abus? And whose cardio is going to run out first here, right? That's kind of how I look at this fight. So, man, for me, I'll be honest with you, man. I am leaning towards the underdog in Brunno Ferreira. I just think in the most scientific of terms that he's got more of that dog in him. Abus, I don't think is quite as like he's from Germany, bro, right? Like he wasn't out here wrestling the fucking bears and shit. Like he wasn't a lifelong Dagestani and all that stuff, right? So he wasn't with them when they were shooting at the gym, basically. So I'm going to go with Brunno Ferreira getting a second round knockout. Early second round knockout. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe even loses the first round and then gets a knockout. This fight could go a litany of ways, but for some reason, man, I don't really trust Abus anymore. I wouldn't be shocked if he won by any means. He's a favorite. But something's telling me to go Brunno here. And I'm going to do it.
Yeah, DS, speaking of shooting with me in the gym yesterday, shout out Money Team, my basketball team.
Congratulations.
We won our championship. So that was fucking dope. Thank you. And then actually we're about to get into a brawl after the game. I'll talk to you off camera about that. But you're right. This could finish in a plethora of ways. Why? Because we have 2 guys that are finishers that have absolutely no fucking gas tank, right? So, here's my thought process behind it. Abus Magomedov in the first round, he likes to pressure, but he likes to throw pretty shit. That's his whole thing. Like, he's throwing long, rangy kicks. He's throwing, he likes to throw pretty while he's fucking attacking in that first round. Brunno Ferreira is not going to allow you to throw pretty. He's going to try to make this a dogfight because he's trying to get the fuck out of there in the first 3 minutes as well. But he has a completely different strategy about it. He's blitzing forward. Like, he is super damn explosive.
I just gotta say, I love Brunno Ferreira, bro. I really do. He's a madman. He's just like strong as fuck, bro, and he gets it done, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing to hate about him, right? I mean, I guess if you're like a real Brunno Ferreira fan, you're like, holy shit, bro, get some fucking cardio. We saw that with Michel Pereira last weekend. Fucking brutal. One exchange of cardio is absolutely egregious. Look, I think these guys are going to throw the fuck down. I think shockingly we're going to get to a second round, but I think that's where it's going to end one way or the other. I'm also going to side with the underdog, Brunno Ferreira here. Why? Because Abus Magomedov, to me, like you said, has shown that he has a little more quit in him than Brunno Ferreira does. And we've seen him finish that Sean Strickland fight is a very, very fucking tough thing to get over, man. It looked like he just gave up when shit wasn't going his way in a main event spot where, like you said, the UFC was trying to cram him down our fucking throats. And it's just like, man, what an opportunity you fumbled. I know Sean Strickland went on to become the champion after that, but like, holy shit, that's a fumble and a half, man.
Yeah, it's not that he lost. It's the way in which he lost and the mentality that he displayed, right? And you know, the presence of mind, the strength of his mind, right? The mental side of it. And you know how I'm big on that, man. I say this all the time. Once you show me that as a fighter, you've given up. There's been times where you've just given up. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Can't win with him.
Can't win with him, right? All right, moving on. Next fight, and this is our bizoy, Myktybek Orolbai, one of the coolest names in the entire promotion. He is taking on another guy with a cool name, Mateusz Rebecki. This is an interesting fight, man. This is a very interesting fight. What do you think about this one?
I think, before we get to the end of this card and the co-main and the main event where, those are massive fucking fights with huge names in them. I think this is like skill for skill, one of the better fights on this card, man. Myktybek Orolbai, a super skilled grappler. Obviously, he's going to wrestle. I mean, you look at him and you're like, yeah, that guy fucking wrestles. That's what he does. Like, he's got that look to him. He's constantly just pressuring forward. Last time out, he beat another my boy in Elvis Brenner. But, Dino, what do we know about these shoot-the-box guys, man? They don't do well against this style of wrestler, right? Like, yes, they're high-level jiu-jitsu guys, but they just don't do well with a heavy grappler. Mateusz Rebecki, on the other hand, is a heavy grappler himself. He's made a career fighting in that region of the world against guys like Myktybek Orolbai, against Dagestani fighters who are, just studs. Mateusz Rebecki, really disappointing performance last time out. I thought he was going to, kind of catapult himself into the rankings, but just a brutal, brutal performance for him. Got his ass beat, just seemed to not be his day. DS, look, I think to me, this is gonna basically, this whole fight boils down to who's gonna be able to implement their wrestling. Because I think that's where we're gonna end up. We're gonna end up on the ground here. Myktybek Orolbai, really strong offensive wrestling, really bad defensive wrestling. Like, if he's taken down, he can be held down. Mateusz Rebecki just seemed lost in the striking last time out, but I think he is the better striker than Myktybek Orolbai. He's going to be significantly shorter here. He gets really fucking aggressive, so he can be cracked. To me, it's a coin flip of a fight, and for that reason, I'm going to go with the plus 210 underdog. I really do think that Orolbai will win the fight via decision, but seeing plus 210 on Rebecki is making me like, it's completely swaying me. So I'll go Mateusz Rebecki UD. But it's just too much value for me, man. I'm not going to judge him based off of his last fight.
I think that's kind of wild, personally. You also butchered his name down below, just so you know.
I noticed that while I was reading. That's why I started stuttering. I was like, fuck. I was trying to look and see if it was
right. That's all good. Yeah, I don't know, man. To me, one thing that was glaringly obvious in that last fight for Rebecki, that he got fucking pummeled, man. He got absolutely pummeled.
Brutal.
I don't think that shit.
Hey, DS, sorry to cut you off. By the way, after that fight, there was the famous picture of him in the hospital, face all fucked up. You know what this man did? He flew to Chicago the fucking next day.
Oh, yeah.
He just came here all fucked up. He was downtown, like, tripping me out. But anyways.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, look, man, I know you said you're not going to judge him off one fight. I get the sentiment. I really do. But for me, it's just, that shouldn't be in the realm of possibilities. If you're that good,
Yeah.
that kind of ass beating should not be in the realm of possibilities versus somebody that you kind of should have beaten, honestly. And this is not taking anything away from his opponent, but and then one thing that I really noticed that was very obvious to me was that Rebecki has no takedown defense. He has absolutely no takedown defense. So you said who's going to be able to implement their wrestling? I think far and away it's going to be Myktybek Orolbai here, and I'm taking him to win by decision. I don't think Rebecki's going to take the ass beating that he did last time. But man, I do believe in Orolbai a lot. I like Rebecki too, but man, two tough opponents, potentially 2 losses in a row now after being on a bit of a streak. Really, it would take the wind out of his sails here. I like Rebecki a lot. I probably like him more as just as a fighter than Orolbai. I like both these guys though, and this is going to be a great fight either way. But I'm going to take Orolbai by decision.
Here's the thing, DS. I think these are 2 guys at 155 that are bottom of the rankings, right? I think they're both like their caliber is 15, 14, like to 10, right? I think both of these guys belong there. It's just
I
when
think
you
will go higher than that.
see, I don't. That's my problem with this whole thing, and that's why I'm going with Rebecki, right? Like, it's a very tough situation because I do think that Myktybek Orolbai is a guy that will hit the rankings. I think Mateusz Rebecki has more upside to him in the rankings. I don't think either of these guys fights for a title. I don't think either of these guys hits like a top 5 ranking or anything like that. But I think Mateusz Rebecki matches up better against guys in the top 10 than Myktybek Orolbai does. It's going to be a hell of a fight. We'll see if Rebecki can implement the jiu-jitsu. He's got great submission skills. If not, if Orolbai fucking runs through him, then we got to get him to a ranked opponent soon and just see what's up. But to me, I think this is going to be really high-level MMA. It can maybe be boring to the untrained eye, but I think a lot is going to be fucking told about the future of 155 in this fight.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
Yeah.
One thing I do just want to mention and ask you about: Did Said Nurmagomedov, did he get a new opponent? Did Charles Johnson officially step up and take that, or is the fight off?
So CJ said that he told the UFC he's ready to go. He's got his passport and shit, but I don't think they haven't rebooked anything from what I've heard. And at this point, man, if they were to fucking offer him the fight on Tuesday night, man, getting there on Wednesday or Thursday is fucking brutal for CJ. So
No, it would have had to already be announced at this point.
yeah, they're supposedly looking for an actual 135er, but if they can't find one, they'll call CJ. But it just seems like it's too late right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling that fight's going to be off. Unfortunate, we haven't seen Said in a little bit too. I would have been down to see him, but it is what it is. All right. Anyway, that fight was supposed to be somewhere on here on the card. Obviously, at this point, it looks like it's off. If you were looking for that one, but anyway, next fight on the card is Geoff Neal, and he is taking on Rafael dos Anjos. It's RDA. He's 40 years old now. Is this one's me or you? This one's me, right?
This one's you, but like my question to you is why the fuck bring these guys all the way out there? Like they're both just like living in America and Texas and shit. Like just like let them fucking vibe. We're gonna be back at the Apex next weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, man, look, this is it's an interesting fight, right? If this was a few years ago, I would have maybe felt differently than I do now. But a 40-year-old RDA, who hasn't looked his best, I do think that we're starting to see him hit that cliff. Unfortunately, one of the toughest fighters of all time. I love RDA, man. I love his style. He's just a badass, dude. He's just a badass fighter. But Geoff Neal, man, he hits hard. He's a big favorite here. Maybe the odds could be a little bit closer in my opinion, but Geoff Neal's a very good striker. He's got great knockout power. He is on a 2-fight losing streak, right? But both of those fights came against tough opponents. Ian Gary, which was a very close fight, and then Shavkat. Geoff Neal gave Shavkat his toughest fight thus far in his career. So Geoff Neal, really good in his prime. RDA kind of falling off at this point. I do think that RDA is tough enough to make it a decision victory for Neal instead. I don't think Neal gets the finish. But that's just kind of how I see this fight going, man. I'm taking Neal by decision.
Yeah, DS, I'm 100% with you. I think Geoff Neal, like, it's tough, right? Because he's been on that losing streak, so that kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But like you said, it was Shavkat, and then it was Ian Machado Gary. By the way, the Shavkat fight, if you recall, I picked Shavkat 3rd round submission. Fucking nailed that. That was a fat ass fucking parlay we had that day. Sold. by one Valentina Shevchenko on that fucking spinning kick that she missed on Alexa Grasso.
Bro.
Would have came up a ton of money. But anyways, yeah, to me, it's got to be Geoff Neal. You know, RDA has looked like he's lost a step. I know a lot of people are taking RDA. I get it. It's enticing at plus 250. I just don't fucking see it, man. I see it exactly the way you do. Geoff Neal via decision. I think he's just gonna just be too big, a little too fast. You know what I mean? Just like a little bit ahead of RDA and everything. And unless RDA can turn back the fucking hands of time, I just don't see it. A couple years ago, RDA's a lock. Not right now, man. So give me hands of steel, Geoff Neal by decision.
Yes, sir. Absolutely agree. All right, moving on. Next fight, and interesting that this is above this previous fight, but we're where we are in the world right now. So I guess it does make sense. But I'm talking about, of course, Shara Bullet Magomedov. He is taking on Armen Petrosyan. What do you think about this one?
Fuck, man. Dino, this one to me is really, really tough, right? Because a big part of me wants to just believe that Shara Bullet is going to pull it off like he has been doing. But then the more you break it down kind of like analytically and you start looking at the film and shit, it's like, man, Armen Petrosyan is a very, very fucking skilled striker. Might be better than Shara Bullet on the feet. So it's a very tough fight. But anyway, Shara Bullet Magomedov, him and his one eye. Exciting prospect. Obviously, he's fucking got the look. He's got the spinning attacks. He's got the power. He is a Magomedov. So there is just that tad bit of grappling in there. Dino, he's looked pretty good in the UFC. Like, he was almost sort of fraud checked last time out, but he held the fence, and that prevented like us from knowing if he actually is a fucking fraud. Like, we just need to see more of Shara Bullet before I'm confident in him against anybody. He's taking on Armen Petrosyan, a guy we know much more about than we do about Shara Bullet. Super fucking skilled striker as well. A long history of kickboxing. His stand-up game is really fucking good. Crisp striking, excellent movement, great ability to counter. He's really adept at managing distance, man. Like, he's got all the shit that you want from a Muay Thai style striker, a kickboxer, whatever you want to call it. Grappling is not his thing, but he's a solid enough grappler to stop the grappling of a guy like Shara Bullet. He's not a specialist in the grappling. The concern for me is that sometimes Armen Petrosyan can become too reliant on his striking and get into a dogfight when he doesn't necessarily need to. I think if he were to mix in some of the grappling at surprising times, it would really fucking work well for him. I'm going to pick Armen Petrosyan. I'm not confident at all. I just don't know about Shara Bullet. I think there's some fraud in there. Maybe we don't see it this time, Dino. I've been 2-0 on Shara Bullet fights, or 3-0, whatever the fuck it is. I picked him to win each time, and he has won. I think this time I'm just going to pick Armen Petrosyan to outpoint him, man, but we'll see.
In Abu Dhabi?
I'm telling you, I'm not fucking confident in it, but we'll see.
Yeah, look, man. You think there's a little bit of fraud for the guy that's fought 3 times in Abu Dhabi? His 3 UFC fights have all been in Abu Dhabi. The guy that has a specific type of look that's fraudulently undefeated. Look, man, he's really good. He's really athletic. I don't think he has that much power, quite frankly. I think Armen Petrosyan has overall probably more power. I think Armen Petrosyan might be the overall better fighter, personally. And I love what you said about Armen Petrosyan maybe mixing in a level change, because I think that would benefit him. I think that would be the right path to victory here. Ultimately, man, I just think that we're in Abu Dhabi. They really want this guy to be a thing. And I think that we are getting very close. I think that after this fight is where he'll really get fraud checked officially, right, and lose. Because there's not many places to hide after that. But I just think that Armen Petrosyan is another stand-up fighter for the most part. He's really good, and it's kind of a coin toss. But we're in Abu Dhabi, and I expect a decision here, and I have to go Shara Magomedov. But I think that we're very close to him officially getting fraud checked.
No, you're 100% right. I'm flipping, man. I'm going Shara. You're right. Like, it's not going to happen in Abu Dhabi with a decision. So,
I don't fucking see it, bro.
No, you're right.
Especially this particular guy.
Yeah, you're 100%. You're 100% right. Swaying my pick. Like, it's close enough to where
dude,
I don't want
that
to
might
pick
be the difference. If this fight was in Vegas, I may be picking Armen. Yeah, that might be just enough for me to pick Armen. It is going to be close.
Yeah. Shara bullet decision. I feel that. And by the way, just a correction, it wasn't last fight. That was against Oleg Jacek, who had a fucking broken arm who he couldn't finish. It was 2 fights ago against Antonio Tricoli, where he grabbed the fence late in that, preventing the takedown, and then got himself the finish. But yeah.
Yep. And then now Antonio Tricoli's in jail or whatever. What the fuck
and he's supposed to fight Tresean Gore, bro. What up?
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, moving on. Next fight of the night, and this is a fucking banger, man. This is a goddamn banger. And talk about implications for 205 here. This very well could be a title eliminator, certainly from Magomed Ankalaev. But you mentioned, me and you discussed this. I think it was on the show too. And I was like, well, do you think it is for Rakic too? And you're like, well, who else is there, right?
Yeah.
And you're pretty much right, man. Who else is there? Alex Pereira, obviously, we see how he wants to keep things going. If he had his druthers, he'd be fighting again in December. Anyway, this is you or me to start here.
This is you, but yeah, Dino, 100%. This is a title eliminator at 205.
Yeah, absolutely. The odds are fucking crazy. The odds are absolutely crazy, in my opinion. Minus 410 is kind of wild. I don't think that the odds makers are giving Rakic enough credit here. I don't think that Ankalaev is just going to take him down with ease. Now, I know Ankalaev has some good striking too, but man, look, Rakic is a terrifying kickboxer. And, you know, a striker that's this high level that does have good takedown defense. People forget that too. You know, I could see some problems, man. I could see some problems for Ankalaev here. I think a lot of people are kind of looking at this as like a shoe-in because it's technically a wrestler, you know, versus a wrestler with good striking versus more of a kickboxer. But man, I don't know. Anyway, I am going to pick Ankalaev here. Even, you know, I know everything I just said, but we'll see, right? I think he's got enough on the feet and he's got enough power on the feet to kind of, you know, keep Rakic off of him. I think he'll play it smart. I think he'll play it boring, right? We know that we've seen boring ass Ankalaev fights, and I think this he does his outpointing, right? Up against the cage and just holding people against the cage and holding people down. And, you know, it's not the sexiest fighting style, certainly. And is he the best Dagestani wrestler? No, he's really not. He's really not. He's actually a pretty well-rounded guy. Rakic is elite on the feet. He's elite. That's why I think the odds should be closer, man. But goddamn, I just can't. Like, every time I think Rakic, I just think about the Yuri fight, and that was fucking awesome. I just like that comeback win was awesome. Anyway, for me, I just think ultimately Magomed Ankalaev is going to do all the boring things that he needs to. Again, we're in this region of the world. I have to give him the decision win here. I don't see a world where he finishes Rakic. And I think Ankalaev's just going to play it too safe to get knocked out by Rakic. So.
Yeah, DS, look, when it comes to Magomed Ankalaev, it is what it is. He deserved the title shot last time over Khalil Roundtree. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say after the performance that Khalil Roundtree, you know, put up. So in retrospect, it's like one of those things, like hindsight's 2020, but it was Ankalaev. It's supposed to be his turn. Regardless, though, he was trying to call the shots and playing fucking games, and the UFC doesn't love the guy. So they didn't give it to him. They gave it to Khalil Roundtree, thinking it would be a layup of a defense for Alex Pereira. Anyways, he's here. If he wins this fight against Aleksandar Rakic, he is 1,000% next at 205. Whereas for Rakic, it's probably like a 90% thing. Magomed Ankalaev's good, man. He is really, really fucking good. Dino, I think against any 205er in the world, he's got a legitimate shot. And really might be the favorite against any 205er on the planet when it comes to the odds makers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's fighting Pereira and he opens as a small favorite, and then we get bet into Alex Pereira being the favorite, right? That's how good Ankalaev is. But however, he does have there is like a little stain on him, and that's the fact that he's boring. When you look at the people he's finishing, it's Anthony Smith, it's Iwan Kutalaba. It's not the best guys in the world, right? When he fights the best guys in the world, he doesn't have those kind of performances. He still wins, but it's not those performances. And then Aleksandar Rakic, you mentioned, I'm super high on Aleksandar Rakic. I always have been. He is a scary, fucking powerful, massive human being. Great skills. Dino, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, but we forget how quickly we forget how good he looked in both of those losses. Against Yuri Prohashka, he was fucking putting the damage on Yuri in round 1.
And that was his first fight back off a devastating leg injury.
That's what I'm saying. He was putting damage onto Yuri, and then Yuri just kind of did his fucking thing and eventually found Rakic. But matchups make fights. Yuri, a really bad matchup for Aleksandar Rakic, yet he still found a way to look phenomenal in that fight for as long as he did. And the fight before that, he was fighting Jan Blachowicz before he fucked his leg up. And my goodness, he was beating the dog shit out of Jan Blachowicz. So look, I'm really high on Aleksandar Rakic. I'm still picking Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight via decision. Like you said, I don't think he finds a finish on Rakic, and he better fucking mind his P's and Q's to not get finished himself. But I think he'll stay boring and get the decision. But DS plus 320 on Rakic, man, that looks fucking tasty, bro. And you mix that with a KO, like a KO prop. I'm just saying, I might be in the mood to sprinkle at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to check. Yeah, I'm seeing it as high as minus 430, minus 450. So kind of wild, honestly. Maybe not a parlay piece, but something to sprinkle for sure.
Yeah, I wish this fight was 5 rounds.
That would be interesting.
I wish this was a 5 round.
Ultimately, it would be the same outcome, but
yeah, but I'd like to see, right, because I'd like to see where we're at. Like just Ankalaev, when he had that 5-round opportunity. Well, let's neglect the Johnny Walker fight that went nowhere, the last one. But the time before that was against Jan Blachowicz, was it not? His last 5-rounder before Johnny Walker.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the draw against. It was the draw.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I just like to see what he would look like in 5 with Rakic if we get there. So.
Yeah, I get it. All right, next fight. Another interesting fight. Like, why is it here? But it's because Lerone Murphy does not like fucking fighting in America for whatever reason. He just stays over here, in Europe, and then I guess sometimes in the Middle East, and all this shit. So anyway, it's Lerone Murphy. He's taking on Dan Ige. Dino, go for it.
Yeah, terrible fucking card placement. This should be before the Ankalaev Rakic fight. And if you wanted Ankalaev Rakic to be like a focal point, you could have opened the main card with them instead of Shara Bullet. Either way, Lerone...
you're absolutely right about that, especially because it's Ankalaev and it's a title eliminator. Why? And here you have 2 guys who are not from this region. Why are they here?
Yeah. So Lerone Murphy, man, you mentioned it. He's one of those British guys that likes to exclusively fight in England. But then you add in the fact that he is Muslim, so he likes to fight in Abu Dhabi, right? He's one of those guys that's never going to leave. So Lerone Murphy, undefeated prospect, super fucking powerful, Dino. Just a strong all-around game, but a guy that was never really too active, right? So he's kind of gotten on in age. And at this point, we've always said it, at this point in his career, should be fighting top guys. Well, here he is. He's getting Dan Ige. So he mixes it up well, Dino. Different fight styles. He can grapple. He can strike. He really does it all, but he's unproven. I think he does it all pretty well, but not very well. Regardless, defensive grappling is great. He never gets taken down and held down. Good fight IQ. Like, there's nothing to hate about Lerone Murphy except the inactivity. He's fighting 50K Dan Ige, who last time out did one of the most badass things of all time. Took a fight same fucking day to save a card. So we got to give him his roses for that. But he's a veteran, DS. He's really tough. He's got great striking. He's got power. He's got that nickname of 50K because he's known to get highlight reel knockouts and get that bonus. He's fought the who's who of the division, high caliber opponents. He sometimes struggles against fighters who can push a fast pace. And I think as he gets older, he's going to start struggling a little bit more with that. For what it's worth, he did phenomenal against Diego Lopez. I believe in Lerone Murphy here. I just think Lerone Murphy's going to outpoint him, get himself a decision, a UD, and just kind of slowly move up this, the rankings. And then I think this is it for Lerone Murphy. I think this is as high as he goes. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Look, my biggest qualm with him is always the same. It's like, dude, can you leave your fucking home, bro? Come to America, fight 3 times a year, and then we can see what the fuck is good. Like, this guy's one of the brightest stars in terms of prospects, right? Who, like, Well, I can't remember the last time I thought of Lerone Murphy, right? And he's very fucking good.
But is he a prospect at 145 pounds at 33 years old? Are you a
Well, no,
prospect?
no, I'm saying he was at one time, right? It's
Right.
like you're so good. You're undefeated. Your striking is elite. Look what he did to Edson Barbosa last time out. Granted, an aged Edson Barbosa, but still, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We saw Edson Barbosa looking really good 2 fights ago, right? So
Yeah.
it's just like, come on, man. Like, leave your fucking home and fight more often. And you're 33 years old already. You're in your prime now, but in 2-3 years, you'll be out of your prime. And then what?
Yeah.
You will have fought 3 more times? Like, that's bullshit, dude.
Anyways, man, look, we'll see what happens. I'm going Lerone Murphy by decision, just outpointing Dan Ige. I think for what it's worth, he caught Edson Barbosa at like literally the best time you can get Barbosa, like right as the decline started. But yeah, Lerone Murphy decision. I think it's Dan Ige looked great last time, but I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Lerone Murphy's not gonna have any issues with cardio. You know, he's got elite striking to give it right back to Dan Ige. I think he's gonna do damage. I don't think he's gonna finish Dan Ige, but I fully agree with you. I see a decision win for Lerone Murphy here. Yeah, I just don't see Ige getting finished, but yeah, man, just please fucking step it up and fight more often and make something of yourself, man. You're really fucking good. He's started to add in a little bit more wrestling into his game too, and
Yeah.
he's looked pretty good doing it. So I like Lerone Murphy. I like him a lot, man. It's just, come on, step it up.
Really,
You know?
really good kicks too. You know what I mean? It's a guy that should be like, and now he's fighting Dan Ige, so it's almost like what we're saying doesn't fucking make sense, which is what I'm tripping on because it's like you're fighting Dan Ige, like that's the fucking guy you should be fighting at this point in your career. But like, holy fuck, how long did it take you to get here?
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
he's not going to be active after this, DS. He's not going to be
No.
active.
He'll
He's going to fight
he'll
the next time we go to London after this.
We'll be lucky if he'll fight at the London card and then maybe the next Abu Dhabi card after that. Look,
Yeah.
he's gonna fight. There's no world where he fights 3 times next year. He might
Yeah.
fight. We're lucky if he fights twice.
Yep.
So, all right. All that being said, moving on into the co-main event. And this is obviously near and dear to my heart. I'm a big Bobby Knuckles guy. I'm talking about, of course, Robert Whittaker. He's taking on Khamzat Chimaev as of now, because we know what's happened with Khamzat a lot, right? And I made a video about this last time he pulled out, and basically the guy is just fucking stupid, right? He's just give everybody. He's losing his fucking mind. He goes into the gym and absolutely tears his body up to shreds. Works out for 6 hours a day. I was just watching an interview with him, and then gets sick. I did that the first time I ever worked out in my entire life. I was about 12, 13 years old. I got a gym membership for like a week or two, or for like a couple weeks or like a month. I was in Bosnia. And you know what I did for my workout regimen?
What was that?
I went in and I did every single machine until failure, like 3 sets, every single machine in there for every body part, everything.
Oh.
That was my workout. I just figured that's the thing. You just got to go through and do every single one. So that's basically Khamzat's strategy. And what happened to me? I got a fever. I felt like shit. So that to me sounds like basically what's happening to Khamzat here. He's overtraining himself to shit. He claims he feels better than ever now. You never know. But listen, man, I want Bobby Knuckles to win this fight. And really, this is simple. It's a simple fight, right? It really comes down to, is Khamzat going to be able to finish Bobby Knuckles in the first round and a half, right? And if he can't, Bobby Knuckles is going to win this fight. Now, Bobby Knuckles, he's a dad. He's just like a chill Australian guy, right? Like he's not doing all the shit that Khamzat is doing, right? He's not doing all this crazy shit. He's really laid back as a personality. But he's a goddamn fighter, man. And there's a reason that he's been at the top of this division for so long, right? He's good everywhere. He doesn't have a ton of power. Is the chin maybe starting to go a little bit? Maybe, we saw Costa clip him, but then at the same time, he didn't get dropped by Costa, right? Yeah. So we'll see, man. I expect Khamzat to kind of keep it standing a little bit and try to knock Bobby Knuckles out. Personally, I don't think he'll do it. I think that eventually, kind of what Usman was on the way to doing, this is a 5-round fight now, too. Again, there's nowhere to hide. I think ultimately Bobby Knuckles survives the first round and a half, 2 rounds, maybe gets dropped even and takes some damage. But then we see Khamzat slow down, man. And also, You're like, yeah, he says he's feeling better than he's ever felt before, but how much is that hyperbole? How much of that is bullshit? So we'll see, man. We'll see. I am gonna go with Bobby Knuckles with a mid fourth round TKO of Khamzat Chimaev. I think it's the first time that we see Khamzat not only lose, but I think he gets finished late in this fight. I think Bobby Knuckles just does a good enough job with this kind of stick and move, kind of karate influence style. Now, would I be surprised if Khamzat knocks him out? No, I wouldn't. I just really don't want to see it.
Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see Bobby Knuckles get a finish in the fourth round. Yes, that'd be fucking awesome. However, I just don't think it's happening, man. I think the way you're seeing this fight playing out is like you're kind of on the right track based on what I'm thinking, but I just don't think we get there. I don't necessarily think Khamzat's going to start slow. I think we're going to get the Khamzat Chimaev that we always get. I think he's going to come out like a bat out of fucking hell and go for Robert Whittaker. And if he doesn't,
I didn't say he's going to start slow. By the way, I just imagine
he's on the feet. Sorry,
he's not going to start shooting takedowns.
I think he shoots a takedown in the first 4 seconds of this fight. I think he sprints at Robert Whittaker and shoots a takedown.
Wow. Okay.
Regardless, though, that's going to be Khamzat's plan: is take him down, fucking maul him, get a finish in the first round. Very similar to what I was thinking about last week's main event. And I was incorrect in that, and I could admit that I was incorrect. But I said Michel Pereira has all of fucking, the beginning of the fight for 6-7 minutes, and I was wrong on that. It ended up being like 3, and he almost had Fluffy out of there. But I said, if we get to that second round, you better start fucking live betting Fluffy Hernandez. So I hope you guys did that. I just don't know that we even get to the second round in this one. But if we do, I'm live betting Robert Whittaker. But give me Khamzat Chimaev TKO to ground and pound round 1, Dino. I think he just fucking mauls Bobby Knuckles and gets himself a title shot. And holy fuck, Drickus versus Khamzat is wild. Wild.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That would be wild. And one of the most undeserved title shots, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It is what it is. It is. You get a feeling. He has aura for sure, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't dislike the guy, man. I really don't. Like, I don't think he's like a bad guy. I mean, he's got the dictator friendship and all that
and
shit.
crypto scams.
Oh, that's you know what? I take it back, bro. Fuck.
But besides that, he's great. You know what I mean?
He's pulling out of fights. He's fucking talking all this shit, calling people out for no reason in different weight classes. But
then you see him. Then you see him crying when that little girl's telling him the story about her dad.
I know, man.
Khamzat's a fucking weird case.
It's almost like we're all just human. It's almost like we're all just multi-dimensional beings and just fucking like we all just are complex.
Yes, the only problem with that is like, okay, look, we're all nice. We all got some asshole shit tendencies.
I'm still not scamming people on crypto though.
I'm saying, and then I don't see you going out there yelling that you're gonna kill everybody and shit like that. Like that just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I digress.
All right. Anyway, moving on. And I'm fucking dying with heartburn over here very badly. All right, moving on to the main event. And, of course, it is the champion, Ilia Topuria. He's taking on the BMF champ, Max Holloway. Man, if both Whittaker and Max Holloway lose, bro, and it's very, very possible, I'm going to be so sad, dude. I'm going to be so fucking sad. I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria, man. I am. Max Holloway is a really, really good boxer. My only question with Ilia Topuria is...
I'm going to give you the big screen. Yes. I'm going to give you the big screen. I don't know.
We haven't seen him in a 5-round war, right? And Max Holloway is very hard to put away, right? So now when it comes to the wrestling, the ground game, Ilia Topuria is like a Georgian champion and whatnot. He has like a wrestling background way more than Max Holloway. So realistically, that would probably be the path of least resistance for him. But I think Ilia is not going to necessarily focus on that. I really don't, man. I think he wants to knock Max Holloway out. And, oh, man. I think Ilia's going to win. For me, it's just a matter of, is he going to be able to do it by knockout or is it going to be by decision? And something is telling me by knockout, man. I just think he's going to be able to catch Max. I'm going to say in like the 3rd round. I think Max is going to take a beating in this one. I think Ilia is going to take some damage too. But ultimately, man, I think Ilia is the more well-rounded fighter. 5 years younger. He is quite a bit shorter. He's got 4 inches of height disadvantage, but the reach is exactly the same at 69 inches. Ilia's going to win this fight, man. Unfortunately, I just think he is. I'm going to say by 3rd round KO, TKO, let's say. But yeah, hoping for the best.
Yeah, DS, when it comes to Ilia Abturo or Topturo, as Connor would say, like, man, Ilia Topuria is fucking good, DS. As much as we all, like, he's playing this fucking villain role, right? And he's doing a good job in it because we're all fucking reacting to it. We all love Volk. He was an asshole, and he knocked Volk out, and that bothered us. And then he didn't even, like,
and
step
Volk
back.
is, like, the nicest guy, so.
Right, and then he tripled down on it, right? And he's trying to be a piece of shit to Max Holloway, but Max isn't taking it because Max is just like, okay. Like, Max doesn't give a fuck, and he's not playing into it, right? So that side of this, like, I get why everyone wants Ilia Topuria to lose. And then on top of that, we all fucking love Max Holloway as a community. So obviously we want Max Holloway to win. And like you said, seeing Bobby Knuckles and Max lose and or get finished on the same fucking card back to back nonetheless would be fucking brutal. One thing I noticed, in film study for this, Ilia Topuria gets his finishes up against the cage, man. That's where he gets all his knockouts. He backs people up to the cage. He pins them up in the fucking corner like he did to Volk, like he did to Jai, like he did to, I mean, obviously not to, what's his name? Not to fucking Ryan Hall, but that was a whole different story. But where is it? Sorry about that. Volk, Jai Herbert, the Damon Jackson knockout was up against the cage. Like, that's where he's getting his knockouts, right? Max Holloway, Dino, does a phenomenal fucking job of not letting you back him up to the cage. If you notice in striking exchanges, Max is never with his back against the cage because he does a great job at, like, rounding out. He's not one of those guys that's just going to back up. He minds his angles. He does a really good job at rolling out of the way of pressure. So that's one thing to think about, right? About knocking Max Holloway out. The other thing, though, is Max Holloway does love getting put against the fence when he's getting taken down because he uses it as leverage, right? He's got great takedown defense, but it's great takedown defense up against the cage. I can totally see Ilia Topuria taking him to the cage with the wrestling and then trying to find something breaking away from the clinch. So if Max were to get knocked out, I would definitely see it happening that way. I just don't think Max is getting knocked out. I could see the other two finishes for Ilia, a submission and a decision.
I take it back. I'm gonna go by decision because honestly, now that, like, when I'm thinking about it, I think that Max is still the better pure boxer.
He is. Ilia Topuria visually, his boxing looks fucking gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like, visually, everything's tight. It's coming from the right angles. Like, it's fucking beautiful. But Max Holloway, to me, skill for skill in the boxing is better. Maybe we fucking eat our words and Topuria just puts a fucking clinic on him. I just don't see it, but I do think Ilia Topuria is going to get the better of Max, especially early, Dino. I think it's going to be a situation where he's kind of, kicking some ass in the first 2-3 rounds. Max starts to catch up, but it's too little, too late kind of thing. So I'm going to go Ilia Topuria decision, probably like a 49-46, maybe a 48-47. I would absolutely fucking love to see Max somehow slump his ass. My God, would that tickle my fucking fancy? But
oh my God,
I just don't see it happening, man. I see Topuria winning by decision.
Yeah, you know what? I fully agree with you, decision, because if Gaethje couldn't crack Holloway's chin,
Topuria is so much faster than Gaethje, man.
He is faster, but sometimes he overswings too, I've noticed. Yeah. So, we'll see. But fuck, I really want Max Holloway to win this fight, man. And I really want Bobby Knuckles to win too. But
hey, if Whittaker and Max win, we're going out. I'm just saying.
We have to.
Just hit me up.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said just hit me up. We going out. It's going to be done early. We'll do a nice little pregame at my crib. Maybe we order some Topuria foods and then get a bottle or two and
wait, that's Halloween, like, going out, bro.
See where the night takes us.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for you guys, man. It's a huge card, top to bottom, absolutely stacked. Lots of fun fight style matchups, and then obviously the co-main and the main are just huge fights. some nice prospects. But man, I'm really pumped for the card. I'm going to be up nice and bright and early, keeping my schedule open to watch this whole thing.
Yeah. Same shit here. DS, anything else for the lovely viewers?
No, that's it, brother.
All right, guys. He is DS. My name is Dino Bam Bam. We are the 10-7 MMA. If you guys enjoyed, do us a favor. Hit the fucking like and subscribe button like the thing at the bottom says. And if the folks over on Instagram, Dino, the hundreds of thousands of views that we're getting and the people that are talking shit, if they were to come over here, they would see that I'm actually fucking picking Ilia Topuria and not my boy Max Holloway because I'm not a casual. Go fuck yourself. But anyways, you can also follow us on Instagram at D107MMA to get into these type of arguments with us. Guys, DS, Dino Bam Bam, UFC 308 takes place from Abu this Saturday. Wake up early. It's a fucking daytime card. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.